Yes, my name is Kyle. I've been working with the encampments. I lived in Powderhorn East, and I was a coordinator, director. I overseen it. Sadly, I lost it. I stepped away for a week because I was so exhausted from staying awake, trying to sustain a community without the support of the city, of the government. We had all of our help from you, the community. You made the difference. You gave housing, in a sense, you gave a sense of community to these people. Sadly, it was torn apart by the police. So shall we defund the police? Yes. Why should we defund this police? Because they are forcing these people from the community, human beings, people who like them, people who live here in this city, who have been born here, raised here, but have not had the luxury of some of these people who are pushing them around, who have houses. Yes, we need houses for every one of us that is out here. Again, I myself need a home. I'm homeless. But I am able to gather myself and be a more productive homeless individual and helping other homeless individuals to pick them up, to enlighten them, to show them that being homeless is not the bottom. Being homeless, you can raise out, you can shine, you can be somebody. You can show others that being homeless is not having anything. Because sometimes not having anything is actually good and humbling. Because I am rich at heart and I have a very strong heart to actually go out and continue to fight for these people. And I can't stress enough of how much the community has helped this effort. Without you as a community, as a collective, people, cities around here, to come together and help this movement again, to move forward. Because lately, I've been staying up and tirelessly staying awake to fight against this police who is continuously evicting people from parks. We have a small group that stand up against them and stay up all night to protecting the parks from having them push them around. And now that we've done a good job of taking care of larger communities in the parks, they're going after little groups. They're going after 1 or 2 tents that are in a park. They're bullying these homeless people. They're pushing them around. They're finding the smallest people, the smallest communities out there, and pushing them out and forcing them to go elsewhere. Now they're just pushing us around just to dismantle us, but we will not. Last week, we lost Powderhorn again on the west side. But we showed them something. As a community, as a group, we took down the police line and moved forward. They reset the police line, and we tore it down, and we moved forward. And we tore down that line, and we moved forward again. Next, you know, they're walking away, and they're leaving the park. That showed us something that we can do, is break down those lines, break down those barriers, and continue to move forward, and show them as a community, we don't need them. We can do these things on our own. Why are we taxed? I don't know. I really don't know. Where's the money going? I don't know. To housings, I wish. Because from what I hear, they have billions of dollars set aside for that reason, and I have not seen it. There's hundreds of people out here without homes. In addition to that, there are more because of the COVID, because of the loss of jobs, because of a crooked government that's pulling them apart, breaking up families. We have families that live in these encampments, and they're getting pushed around too, along with their kids. A home, we would love a home, to be safe, to be under a roof, out of these elements, out of this storm. That the best thing. Then again, I thought about it. The people that are pushing us around, they have a home. And they were raised in a home. If that's what a home provides and shows you, maybe I don't want a home. But I would like a family, a caring and loving family, and a caring community that can look out for each other. And that's what we have right now. But a home would always be greater. But a greater thing is a well-established community. A community that cares for each other. A community that looks out for each other. That's the kind of community I would like to live in. That's the kind of home I would like to live in. A home where we can get along, can call each other's friends, brothers, sisters, moms, dads. It breaks my heart to see other human beings be so hateful, to downgrade us, to push us, this prejudiceness, this racism, this criminalization of humanity. We are human. We deserve a home. We deserve a place to live, not to be pushed around. I'll end it with that. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you, Kyle. And that's really how that's how that works. And a lot of people have asked, what can I do? How can I help? It starts there. Talk to folks. Just roll up on them and ask them, what do you need? And some of them need a shield. They need people to get between them and these cowardly ass cops showing up to evict homeless people, to evict homeless women and children. And I think homeless might even be a marked term, and I think unhoused is something that I need to start getting used to, or people experiencing homelessness. Because in the English language, we throw out permanence a lot, you know? We don't throw out temporaries. We throw out forever terms. And so we need to start looking at this as a temporary thing. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get behind this truck and we're gonna march to a site that is going to address directly what we're talking about when we speak about having a home, affordable housing, and what is profitable housing. So let's all gather up. We're gonna make the march and go to 2 different sites. And the second one will be an open forum for everybody to speak at. I said more lives, they matter. Yeah. 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 No justice, no peace. Prosecute the police. 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 No justice, no peace. And I think we know why. Alicia has been involved with Lena, the Lowry Hill East Neighborhood Association, and she's going to tell us a little bit about what's going on with this building and what's going on with this building. Give it up for Alicia!
Hi there, thank you so much. This is my first time speaking at a rally, so you can tell I brought note cards, which was dumb. So, I am the president of Lowry Hill East Neighborhood Association, and we found out from a neighbor that told us that this building had been purchased in March by the people who own this building, and they have applied for a demolition permit, which the city tells us they have to give them by right. So why does this matter? Okay. First, I want to do a shout out to the Southwest Journal, who's done an amazing job doing investigative journalism on this. So please go up and look up. They've done a couple of different articles on this. And so let's review what we know. Number one, we know that in Minnesota, 50% of people who are without homes, they report they're out without homes because they cannot find a place that they can afford to live in, okay? So we know that. The next thing we know is that this building, which is going up here, the people who were constructing this used improper building techniques. And because of that, there was massive ground erosion that caused cracking to this building in July and August of 2018. This was a known condition that had been going on for a year and a half. Did anybody do anything about it when it started happening in July and August? No. Did the people who own this building repair it for the people that live there? No. They let this condition sit, both the city and the people who own this and the people who are developing this, so that in October of 2018, there was more shifting, and the people in this building, 25 affordable units in this neighborhood, so you know what that means, an X on its back, they had to evacuate from their homes in 72 hours. And we know that people were made homeless.
Tell that.
Okay? We know that. So, like I said, the people who own this, they did not then go to their insurance company, which they have insurance, and get this condition fixed. We know that the inspector told the city, that this was repairable. You know, foundation things, it seems scary. You can actually do a lot of work on foundations. And they said you could repair this foundation and move forward with no significant concerns for the future of the foundation. But they didn't do that. They let it go through the courts instead. And what they ended up doing was settling out of court with a insurance settlement that the public cannot see. And as part of that settlement, they sold this building to the people who damaged it for $525,000, which was 17% of the value of the property. Wow. And you know, at Lino, we were like, hey, we would have bought that, and we would have put our neighbors in here. Okay, so the other thing we know, so people will say, oh, but how much does it cost to fix it? Most of the actual cost of repairs, that details has been hidden from view. It's not publicly available, but there was a court document that referred to over $50,000 of repair damage. So I think that we can put 2 and 2 together, and it would probably cost around $50,000. If that's not true, somebody needs to tell us that, and then we need to be able to verify it with outside experts, okay? So, that is what we know. Thank you. All right, gotta check my cards. Where am I at? What have I missed? All right, so now it's action time. You know, if you've read that Southwest Journal article, you saw some quotes from me, and one of them was a little salty. And it said, if developer thinks that they could come in here and destroy, damage affordable housing, purchase it, tear it down, and put in market rate housing, they're gonna have hell to pay. And that's where you all come in. You're bringing it, okay? So we've got a few action items. First is for the owners of this property who think they're gonna get away with it. So get out your phones, if you got a writing utensil, if you want to send them an email, get ready to send them an email, do it. But we're also going to have this information on our website, www.thewedge.org. On a newsletter goes out to our members and on our Facebook. And you can always get in touch with me. I'm on Facebook, Alicia Gibson, I'll give it to you. So this company that bought this, Randolph Street Capital, an investment firm in Chicago who thinks they made out with a really good deal. Jonathan Saliterman is the project manager now for this and this. He can be reached at jsaliterman, JSALITERMAN @rstrealty.com. If you could send him a message with the subject heading 2003 Aldrich, repair or rebuild, that would be great. And then in that message, What we're asking is for them to repair this building and put in the 25 units of affordable housing that were here previously, or whatever they build here better be 25 or more. Period. If they can't do it, they can sell it to someone who will. They can sell it to Lena. But there are a lot of developers in this city actually who do affordable housing, and they can get it done. We know that, okay? So that's number one. Now we got 3 items for city council. So we need you to email your city council members and go ahead and add in the people on the planning commission. First, we need somebody to be held accountable for what happened here. A year and a half of known poor, improper building that was visible to the eye. And then on top of that, from July and August to October, nobody did anything that we know about. So we need somebody to be held accountable for not doing their job at the city. I know that if I rebuild my porch and I want to put in a new footing, there's going to be an inspector out there. Where is the inspector? Okay? Where was the inspector? Save people's homes. Don't just make it difficult. Don't just be there to make things difficult. Be there to save people's homes. Okay, number 2. We need the city council to publicly tell these owners that they're going to have to get their plans approved by the community through the Lowry Hill East Neighborhood Association before they get anything approved from the Planning Commission or from the City Council. They need to make it right to us, to the people that live here. Let me check my cards for the 3rd action item.
Hard to build.
Yeah.
Hard to build. It's in your head. It's in your head.
It's in my head. Give me a second. I had one more item. Oh, this is it. Okay. I can't believe this is legal. They keep telling us this is legal. This shenanigans cannot be happening around the city. So we asked in that email to the city council, ask them to have the city attorney give, let's say, yeah, this looks like it's probably legal. And if it is, then we need the city council, you know what we need them to promise? We need them to promise that it will never be legal again. They need to fix that loophole now. Yeah. Because if people can come in and damage affordable housing, buy it from their own malfeasance, tear it down, and put in market rate and higher housing,
Who can afford that?
then that should terrify anyone in this city who cares about housing justice. This is the crisis. We need it to stop here. So please help us fight for our neighbors. Please help us fight for diverse, inclusive neighborhoods. Thank you.
And so, after Timmy, thank you to Alicia for educating us. And this is important when we do these rallies that we get informed. And from linking up with Kyle, what we're going to launch on, I believe Monday, is going to be an Instagram channel and a Facebook channel called Home Base. And there's Minneapolis Sanctuary, Logan Park Sanctuary. There's chaos ensuing in the encampments, and we need a centralized place to put out daily lists and daily needs. And so Kyle, Core, and all these amazing folks that I have learned so much from, and I do not do half the amount of work as they do, and I'm learning from them, is to basically supply a channel to put daily list needs through there, and also to put up when urgent alerts when cops are coming to evict homeless people from the park. And that's the immediate action. This is the long-term action. This is the long-term action. This could have housed people. You're living in a city that is where your tax money is going to cowards kicking out unhoused people and bolstering development companies. everything's going in reverse. If that happened on your job, and you've been doing that job for over 5 years, should you still have that job? No. You have failed at your job. You have absolutely failed the people. You are bringing in gentrification. You are introducing it to your neighborhood. You are turning away brown, black, poor, neglected people willingly. And can you guess who lived in this building? Possibly people with melanin. Now when you start talking about centering whiteness and spotlighting whiteness and employing whiteness and housing whiteness, this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. You see it going up everywhere. The Nordhaus in Northeast, the top penthouse costs $30,000 a month to live in. $30,000 to live at the top of Nordhaus. That's insane. The city council, the mayor, the governor have failed you and have continually failed you because they are bringing in a new elite class of folks that do not talk, look, or get employed like you. They are not us. They could come down here and rally with us and maybe support some of the groups, but they are not like you and I. And that's not to draw a line, that's to say that your city is getting absolutely gentrified. And if they're doing it here in a white neighborhood, you can guess when it's just gonna happen. When it's gonna happen next to Northeast. When it's gonna happen next to Floydtown. And I'll tell you what, I'll willingly go to jail any day for my people. I'd be proud to go to jail for Floydtown. The immediate action is to defend the encampments from the Minneapolis police cowards to supply unhoused folks with what they need right now before winter comes, and the long-term solution is buying property. Let's go. We could have bought this right here. We could have reached out to some extended family members and bought this right here, cleaned it up and made it for the people. Right. You also need to know that your city doesn't favor this. They don't want it. And I'll give you a small example. Little Earth tried to purchase a building. The city outbid them. Little Earth tried to purchase a building. The city outbid them. These seats need to turn. That's all it is. That's all it is. These seats have to turn. They have to turn. Raise your hand if you live in this neighborhood. And you're out here. You're out here. I don't see your city council member out here. I don't see Mayor Fry out here. I sure as hell don't see Governor Walz out here. I saw Governor Walz step out of his house, give a half an apology to Delshia, the mother of Hardal Sherrill, who was killed in a Minnesota jail, and then walk back into his house. Like he just came out to shoo away the birds. That is the lack of humanity in your leadership. They do not know what's going on. You're here because you care. You're here because you want to know more. You're here because you're standing for black, brown, native, and indigenous lives. You're here standing for that. You're doing the work. We got one more site to get through, then we're gonna get back to Muller Park, eat food, and we're gonna hit the road right now. So have the marshals get ready. We're gonna start to roll into a site that we've been before, and we're gonna basically just get informed. So if there's any questions that you've been having, get ready to ask them. If we don't get no justice, they don't get no peace. If we don't get no justice, they don't get no peace. Okay, so we've marched this street many times before, and I know that we've been calling and chanting the whole time, but I wanted to try something new. I wanted to give y'all something to dance to as we enter into this forum.
So we are in front of Lisa Bike Lane Bender in affordable housing, right? and all this affordable housing around here.
Oh, so lovely.
When your definition of affordable is too much for the people that live in that community, that's gentrification. Which is just new age redlining, if you think about it. It's not affordable housing, it's a non-clever way of pushing people out of their communities that they love and that they built over generations. So, I'm from the north side. I grew up on the north side. So, I'm gonna give y'all a little history lesson. Because the north side, north side? I throw that out there. Represent. So the north side actually used to be an old Jewish community back in the day, in the 80s. And so what happened is they redlined everyone and put people of color over on the north side, and they all went to the suburbs and got their $1 million houses on discount, and they're able to build that like generational wealth, right? While we're stuck in these communities. And now they're telling me that their kids want to live closer to the city, so now I got to give up my housing. That's fucked up. So yes, when Tucson asked who lives around here, I unfortunately had to raise my hand. Because it is actually was cheaper for me to live over here than it was in North Minneapolis. Because I got gentrified out of my community. And so now I have to find new routes, and I need to find new people to hang out, and all my family and stuff is on the north side. And it's stuff like this that stops people of color from systemically building any wealth between generations, right? If we also want to talk about some history lessons, let's talk about the Rondo neighborhood, a historical black town in St. Paul, where they decided that a highway was more important than people of color in the communities that they live in. So yeah, we call it gentrification. I call it new age redlining. So now let's talk about the city charter, right? I'm on zip mode. So the city charter. So I'm also a chess player, right? I coach chess part-time at Edison High School. Shout out to Edison. Shout out to the Tommies. Okay. So we got to think long term, right? So there's nothing. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with defunding the police, right? But the thing is, we have to think about it, right? So if I say, what are we going to do after we defund the police, and you tell me the plan is to do community engagement, which is just a fucking survey, then what the fuck is the plan? Like, if y'all have all this time and all these resources, y'all should have been using that on coming up with the plan and then saying, let's go through with this plan, instead of saying, we're going to defund something and then we're going to think about it. That don't even make any sense. So that's what I think about defunding. As far as abolishing the police, I'm pretty neutral. I don't think that, like, on this side of the revolution you could do it, because if you abolish the police, like, they're just gonna privatize them, right? So we already have very, very, very little control over the police. But we will have literally none if they're private companies, because then it's you work with them or you don't. And that's already happened for Minneapolis Public Schools, so. So we gotta make sure that we're careful on that front. And we need to make sure we're watching who's pushing these messages, right? So we see a lot of the nonprofit industrial complex, and they keep pushing this defund narrative, right? That doesn't have a plan. And I wondered, like, why are they pushing defund? Why is there no plan? And we got to realize that some of these nonprofits have a slight contradiction, right? Because they're supposed to help solve something, right? They're not supposed to solve it though, because then they don't have a job. So you need to make sure you're in a perpetual state of getting to that goal without ever reaching that goal. Okay, so when I ask them what's the plan and they tell me that, oh, we're gonna do community engagement for the next couple of years, I said, oh, you're gonna have a job for a couple of more years. How convenient. So I wanna make sure we talk about that. So now I want to talk about this random person that I met on the street the other day. They told me that there was not that many people of color they were seeing at marches, at these Black Lives Matter marches. So I want to tell you what I told them. Because we already live in a society where people were already living paycheck to paycheck. That's before COVID, okay? And now we're looking at all the people who are getting evicted over the next couple of months. And I'm gonna say, over the next couple of months, and that's just fucked up. How they messed up and we gotta pay the consequences? Huh? That don't even make any sense. So there are many problems that are affecting black people, and a lot of them are out here just fighting to exist, right? Because coming to these protests that we're doing right now, it's a privilege. Okay? And I need us to realize that that's a privilege. And that we all need to recognize that. And I appreciate that y'all are using y'all privilege to come here and support people of color, to amplify our voices, to make us feel like we're heard. Okay? That's important. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. We need to also make sure that we're supporting our unhoused population. I've heard a lot of people talk about COVID and evictions and how they can be homeless in the next couple of months, right? But I'm not going to try to appeal to your individualism, right? I'm going to try to pull at your heartstrings. I'm going to tell you that these are other fellow human beings that aren't getting their minimum conditions met. Let's not forget about the problem. It's not about us. It's about protecting everyone. No one will be left behind. And when we're doing this, it's like the park board, right? The park board's out here pretending like they're doing something. They're like, oh yeah, if you get this permit, we won't come and evict your people or bulldoze your houses. Bullshit. How are they going to give us a chance to get a permit, and then everybody applied to get the permit, and they're like, oh, we can't give you the permit though. Okay? That don't make any sense, right? Because we got to realize that these laws that we feel are so sacred, that because the ruling class gave it to us, we're like, ooh, we got a law now. Ooh, we're protected. No, that's bullshit. These are Trojan horses, okay? And these gifts they're giving us, they're used to limit the amount of power that we have. Because we have all the power we need right here with the people, with the community. And then they're going to limit our scope of power by saying, oh yeah, your power is this permit now, and we're not going to give it to you. No, that's some bullshit. So we need to stop, and then on the final thing, I'm going to say, I think we need to stop using all this energy trying to get these slightly worse Democrats into office, and we need to realize that voting is one of the many tools in our toolkit, right? And just like a toolkit, we need to use all the tools in order to get the job done, right? How you going to build a house with just a hammer? You know what I mean? We need all the tools. So there's a proverb, right, out there that says the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. And let me tell you, Minnesota is the definition of insanity. Because it's just crazy to me how many people can elect these phony-ass Democrats that claim they're progressive for the last 3 decades, right? I want y'all to think for this. The last 3 decades, we've been part of the blue wall. The blue wall. But let me tell you, for people of color, this is the blue curtain. Because we put all our values into this one tool, and we forget about the rest of the tools in our kit. And forget about and while we're following up and making sure that we're doing the right thing, so my main thing is after we vote, because everyone overvalues this voting, why are we not making sure these people are accountable? Right. There you go. I really need to know that. Everyone gives so much weight to these people, right? These politicians need to know who power is it. Who power is it? Who power is it? Who power is it? Yeah. And they need to know that there will be repercussions if they fuck up. So getting people into or out of office is one step. That's not the solution, it's a step. but we need to make sure that we know who has the power. I see politicians make terrible choices all the time. And people come up to me and they say, DJ, can you believe what this politician did? It's fucking crazy. And I just be confused. I'd be like, because it's not what the politician did, it's what we as a community are letting them do, because it's our power. These politicians don't got no power, we got the power. And we show them and we demonstrate that power when we do things like this. When we come out in front of Lisa Bender's house and tell her her definition of affordable housing ain't shit. And with that, I want to say I love everyone, and I want to say Black Trans Lives Matter.
Thank you, DJ. Thank you. Does anybody have one of these posters they could just hand me real quick? I'll give it right back. I swear I won't steal it. Lisa Bender has, we're in the front of the house of City Council President, Minneapolis City Council President Lisa Bender. And she coins a statement that's naturally occurring affordable housing. And that apartment that we were outside of, the one that got cracked and is now going to get mowed down and bought out by a development company from Chicago, that's what she referred to as naturally occurring affordable housing. However, my friends over at Inquilinas Unidas por Justicias, they work with Renters United for Justice. And they basically ensure that landlords who are slumlords will get taken to court, and they will get their day in court, and they will have to give up millions of dollars. And they did that with Steve Friends. And everybody got a check in the mail, because he allowed these apartments to disintegrate from the inside and never answer people's calls. The thing is that here in Lena, landlords are making a 77% profit margin. 77% profit margin. That's what we call naturally occurring profitable housing. Naturally occurring profitable housing. And that is the term they use over at Inquilinas Unidas por Justicia. Because there's nothing affordable about this. There's nothing affordable about this. There's nothing justified about this. There's no justice in this. And so with that said, this is why we're out here. Because Lisa Bender has sat in that seat for a long time. She was in that seat when Terrence Franklin was murdered. She was in that seat when Philando was murdered. She was in that seat when Thurman Blevins was murdered. And she did not, and Jamar Clark, and she didn't show up until George Floyd was murdered. Now, can you imagine why? Because he was filmed. And what I do at On-Site Public Media is what we're doing is we're turning the cameras over to the people. Because it seems that the only weapon we have as black and brown folks are our cameras. And white folks do not show up until they see it. And you need to start showing up whether you see it or not. Thank you. Now, what we're going to do today, I'm going to call up Jim in a little bit, but for real quick, Lisa Bender had a meeting a few nights ago. It was a Zoom meeting. She only let in 100 people, and 200 people sat out, and they just had to sit there and not know what's going on. Anybody that opposed Lisa Bender during that meeting got muted swiftly. Yeah, that's bullshit. They were muted swiftly, and then she also took in 5 questions from 100 people. So what we're gonna do over the next 30 minutes, we're going to try to get as many questions answered as possible. We don't have all the answers, but we will give you direction and ideas and possibly enlighten you to come up with some answers for yourself. So first off, can we turn the mic on, the corded mic? You check it real quick, Michelle? It's on, yeah.
It's on, yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna first speak with Michelle Gross from Communities United Against Police Brutality. Give it up. So Michelle, yeah. Well, I initially started this rally, and it was the People's Charter, and then I was swiftly checked, which I'm semi-new to this, that it's not about the Charter Commission shutting down people from voting on it. It's about the lukewarm amendment that the City Council offered. Can you tell us what happened there?
Yes, absolutely. The Charter Commission is a group of volunteers. That's something people should know. These are not people that are paid to do this work, but they do it because they care about having the charter be legal. And so a lot of them are lawyers, others are volunteers in the community, and what they do is they look at charter amendments that are proposed, and they do things like make sure that things are actually legal. And the reason that they stopped the city council's charter is for what I talked about back at the park, which is that the way that it was worded was so bad. And to give you an idea how bad it was, the city council, their staff was writing this thing literally 10 minutes before the meeting where it was introduced. That is how stupid their process was. Now, I know a little something about charter amendments because our organization put together the charter amendment that would require police officers to carry professional liability insurance. And we took a year and a half to write our charter amendment. We engaged with insurance professionals, labor professionals, a whole army of lawyers, all kinds of other people that could inform our work, and we read deeply the process for charter, what kinds of things belong in a charter, and how you change that charter. And these people didn't read any of this stuff as far as I can tell, because the thing they wrote was so screwed up, you couldn't even tell what the hell it was going to actually do.
What did they write in it?
They put things like, for example, they didn't have any way to discipline police in there. They were going to put it in, here's another, I mean, it's a lot of stupid stuff. They said, we'll put the police under an agency. Now, I've been doing this for a couple of minutes now, and I know a little bit about what works and what doesn't. You know, but I'm not the only person. I don't claim to be the expert. Everybody here has expertise. And I value all your expertise. But here's what they wanted to do. They wanted to maybe have a police department and maybe not. They couldn't say for sure, which is right out of the gate a problem because a charter should say what you're actually going to do. Right. Then if they had this department, it was going to go under a committee, under an agency rather, that reports to a city council committee that reports to the whole council. In other words, if we had police, they were going to be 3 layers down away from any accountability. And you wouldn't be able to say, oh, the police chief, let's get rid of him or her or whatever, right? We wouldn't be able to go and break up Janae Harto's press conference like we've done many times and other press conferences and said, no, you are lying and we're not tolerating it and you better damn well straighten these people up. We wouldn't have that level of accountability. What we would have had is, again, some agency that was under a city council committee that reports to the whole council. So they would have been 3 layers down. And in there they said, and that agency shall appoint a police chief, but they didn't say whether they would actually have the police. So how do you have to have a police chief, but you don't actually have the police agency? You know what I mean? It's like the kind of stupid writing that a 5th grade English teacher would have picked up on. Okay?
So I'm curious, do you think that by next year, and I'll just loft out the first question, if anybody has a question, raise your hand. Do you think that by next year they will have a different amendment because everybody's up for re-election?
I don't know, and I'll tell you why. This ain't the first time they did this stuff, you guys. In 2018, they came out with an amendment that was somewhat similar to this one, that was so poorly worded, nobody could figure out what the hell it would actually do. And so for that reason, the Charter Commission said no, because we can't figure out what you're talking about, and you don't have anything in it that has to be in a charter amendment to make it legal. And so they didn't let them put it on in 2018, and the city council said, oh, we'll work on the wording and get back to you, and we never heard another damn word.
Okay, we have a question here.
I have a rather specific question. So I was having a conversation the other day with a family member who said, if the police are to carry their own personal liability insurance, that what's going to end up happening is what happens with doctors and lawyers, which is that their salary goes up in order to offset the cost, and understanding that the ultimate goal is to defund and also diminish the size of the police force. How do those, I struggled with how to respond to them because I didn't know. How do you see that playing out, I guess?
Well, first of all, when we did our campaign was 2016. So the idea of defunding the police was not even on the table at that point. But here's the thing. Police right now, the way that we designed our amendment is that the city would pay the base rate for the insurance. Any overage would be coming out of the police officers' pockets. Police officers with a 2-year associate degree in the city of Minneapolis as starting salary make $68,000 a year. Do you think they're underpaid? Because I sure as hell don't. You know, I don't know. You know, that is so far above the median salary of a family of 4, which is, I think, $53,000 in the city of Minneapolis. It is so far above that it's ludicrous to think that they would be in any way impoverished or anything like that. And the other thing is this. The way that we take care of liability right now is that the city is self-indemnified. That means that the city literally budgets for police brutality. They take the money and they put it in a fund, and then as these lawsuits come up, then they pay them out. And they budget, just so you guys know, $21 million a year. So the Justine Damon payout, $20 million, wiped out most of that year's stuff. And in my opinion, as a paralegal and somebody who's been doing this for a while, I think that the George Floyd payout is going to make the Justine Damon payout look like an appetizer. It should. And it should.
Do we have anybody else? Question, raise your hand. This is the one time you get to ask an expert about the city charter, about the history of the police. Michelle's been working here for 2 decades doing this. Just raise your hand. Anybody have a question? Where? Okay.
While you're getting over to that question, I want to ask you guys a question. How do you feel about your city budgeting for police brutality? Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. I don't want to pay for these assholes doing this stuff. Because I think it lets them get away with it. If they had to pay a consequence for doing this, and they never do. If they had to pay higher premiums, and some of these guys like Bob Kroll with 54 complaints and 11 lawsuits, Bob Kroll, the president of the Police Federation, the fake-ass police union. Yeah, but Bob Kroll. But nonetheless, this clown would never be insurable. Derek Chauvin wouldn't have been insurable. We'd have got rid of his ass long ago instead of him being a training officer. That's what we need to be doing, getting rid of these bastards.
So in terms of consequences, and we're obviously here to keep our council members accountable. They've obviously failed us this time, and you and others, and like Black Visions, everything, they've been doing this work, and they're still not listening to us. How do we keep them accountable? Or is it just election season coming up, or do we keep the pressure on? How do we put the pressure on them so that they'll actually listen to us?
I think things like this are very, very, very important, and I'll tell you why. One of the things that's unique about this particular time period that we're in, I've been doing this work for 34 years about. And in the past, most people didn't even believe this was a problem. So they thought I had 3 eyeballs or something, whatever, right? But the reality is, like, we used to be able to go to the city council meetings. We used to speak at those meetings, and if they wouldn't let us speak, we took the damn things over, okay? And we made sure that they heard what we had to say. But now, these characters are all climbing behind COVID. And yeah, I don't want to minimize, because I'm not one of these, COVIDiots, right? I believe COVID's a problem. I'm a nurse by training. I believe COVID is a real problem. And I protect myself and my family, and I encourage you to do the same. But they're using this as an excuse to carve out the community from any involvement whatsoever. The mayor put together 3 task forces, supposedly to transform the police. Not a single person who has done any work on police accountability in this city is on any of those task forces. Not one. I have had a data request since June 29th to find out who the hell's on these work groups, what's their mission, what's their name, when do they meet, can the public be engaged? Nothing since June 29th. You cannot get an answer out of the city. This is the crap they do. So what do we have to do? We have to keep disrupting every way we can. This isn't about going and saying, no, now city council, would you please, work with us here and all this. Just what Toussaint talked about, how if you're not one of the people that's agreeing with Lisa Bender, she's going to cut you off after a minute, silence you, this kind of crap. When I tried to speak even at the public hearing for the Charter Commission, I was unmuted, they saw that I was unmuted, somehow there was some technical problem, I didn't even get to speak. Anybody that wasn't, one of the favorite speakers didn't get to speak. So we have to find ways to disrupt. We're going to show up tomorrow outside the mayor's office, and I dare his ass not to come out and take those petitions. I dare his ass not to.
And Michelle, we have a question all the way over here on the right. So.
Okay, go for it.
I was kind of like leaning into where like police officers live according to like what office they work at versus like what city they live in. And a lot of the Minneapolis police officers didn't even actually live in Minneapolis. Like, would that be anything that could be possibly changed? I don't know if that would help out a lot, but they don't even live in the city that they help out with.
Well, I'm going to tell you a couple things. First of all, under our state laws, as well as a state Supreme Court decision, that isn't even an actual option for us. But I'll tell you why I don't worry about that and why we don't talk about it. Because there's not a single solitary study anywhere that shows that having police live in your community makes them less violent. Not a single solitary study anywhere. Our group, CUAPB, is all about evidence-based best practices. We're not interested in promoting stuff or wasting energy on things that aren't going to change anything. And having cops live where you live, frankly, I don't want them as a damn neighbor. I'm going to tell you right now. You know? And I'll tell you something else. We're a statewide organization. We get calls from all over the state on our hotline. And I can tell you that in rural counties, where it's the sheriff's deputies and they live in those same towns, those people don't get better service. And not only that, a lot of them are terrorized by those people. So we don't really think that that's a good solution, and we don't waste time on that one.
So I want to ask real quickly, we referenced Derek Chauvin. Could Mayor Frey have picked up on Chauvin before Chauvin happened?
Oh yeah, long ago. One of the things that police departments can do is they have a thing that's called an EIS, Early Intervention System. And what early intervention systems do, basically they track all the complaints, all the, there's different conducts like showing up late to work and, different kinds of conducts that signal that there's a problem with somebody.
Well, he killed 2 people before he killed George Floyd. I mean, that would have popped up, right?
Yeah, you think that might have popped up, right? Yeah. So the point is, he shot one person and killed the other one. But anyway,
okay.
But nonetheless, I mean, he had a hell of a record before this, and the community knew his record. In fact, that night, when I saw the video, I knew who he was, and I was within an hour and a half or so of the video, I posted up his name and his whole record because I knew who the hell he was. I said, "Damn, that's Derek Chauvin." I pulled up his whole thing and knew who he was because he was such a problem to the community. We knew who he was, but they do not care about reining these cops in. If they had, they wouldn't have him being a training officer. Think about that. It wasn't just that he was allowed to keep going. He was training these other ones. These cops are all trying to act like, I'm pure as the driven snow and I didn't do anything wrong and all this crap. What George Floyd was alleged to have done, which was to have a counterfeit $20 bill, if it even was. It might not have been. But if it even was, that is the most commonly counterfeited bill in the United States. They're so far in circulation that the feds can't pull them back out. I might have one in my purse right now. I don't know. If I got $20 on me, it's probably counterfeit. Hell, I don't know. It's not something that you get the death penalty for. But not even that. It's not even a crime in Minnesota. A crime is something you can go to prison for. You can't go to prison for that. You know what they do? They take your $20 bill and they go, "Where'd you get this from?" And we're going to investigate it, and they take it, and you don't have it anymore, and that's it.
So I'm curious to ask you one more question before
They have no business even putting their hands on him. So I just want to say that right now. And let alone coming to him and putting a gun in his face.
That's on tough foods, though, not the police.
No, but it's also the police because the way that they approached him, you're not allowed, if the person has not committed a crime, and a crime in our state is a gross misdemeanor involving violence or a felony.
But I can go to Chase Bank with a fake 20 and they don't call the police on me.
Right, exactly.
Say
but
that
my
one more
point
time.
is the police.
I could go to Chase Bank, Wells Fargo, who do y'all bank with? What's your credit union? And bring a fake 100, fake 50, fake 1, fake pennies, fake 20.
Right.
And they will never call the police on me.
Right.
They gonna say it's not real, sorry sir, I can't give you this $1 back.
Right.
And they
that's
gonna
what
keep
they're
it.
gonna do. But that's all they're going to do.
I'm not taking the blame off the police by any means. I'm just bringing up Cup Foods.
No, it's screwed up with Cup Foods too. I wish that place would be closed down and never open again. Yeah, they don't need to be open. They do a huge disservice to the community.
So,
nonetheless, with the police, they have no rights to even approach or put their hand on you. It's the same thing happened with Jamar Clark up at the 4th Precinct. They had no legitimate reason to put their hand on him in the first place. So that's why they made up that whole cock and bull story about domestic abuse. Because that's the only reason, the only exception to that thing I just told you, which is that they're not allowed to put their hands on people unless they witnessed an actual crime.
So I just want to ask you one final question before we bring Jim up and just ask like maybe 1 or 2 questions because we got to get moving soon.
Yeah.
What would you want to say to Lisa Bender if she were here right now? Which she does have a pretty bad track record of correspondence with the people. What would you say to Lisa Bender, the president of City Council, if she were here right now?
What I would say is shut your damn mouth and open your fucking ears.
Okay. All right, Jim. Real quick, Jim, if you could just tell us what you just come on up. I'm gonna hand the mic to you, and if you could just, and Michelle, you can stay with us as well. If you can tell us what has been your experience in the encampments, and what do you want to see change, and what do you think could be changed in a city charter? Just take a seat and speak to us.
I'm super nervous to speak in a crowd. I have terrible social anxiety. Hey, my name is Jim. I go by Jim. I want to give you a little bit of a background of what I did before. I'm a tech student. I go to Brooklyn, Hennepin Tech School in Brooklyn Park for auto body shop repair. No, I don't want you to clap. I just want you to know what the background I have, because when I saw that video that y'all saw, my depression, my anxiety, everything went away and I got to work. I said, fuck work, fuck school, I gotta do something. So I got into my tiny ass little Subaru and started asking people for money so I could go buy food and supplies. And I started doing supply runs for a free store that gives out groceries, free groceries to the community every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in the corner of Bloomington and 28. It's called the Free Store at the Grease Pit. And I want you to all go to Instagram and look them up because they do amazing work. So I started doing that. I started doing supply runs for Powderhorn. And then when the resolution got amended on July 15 and they broke down Powderhorn Park, what they did, it's broke down the mutual aid that was created by that community, by us. Because we were actually showing up to help people that were already vulnerable and at risk. And you know who showed up? People that also are vulnerable at risk. The people that are coordinating at these encampments, they're at risk of losing their own homes. There are people that are on call all the time. In fact, there are several people here that work on the encampments, and they will speak more to it too as well, but they're on call all the time to help these folks, right? So what I have witnessed people basically come together to create mutual aid, and what the park board is doing is trying their best to fracture that mutual aid. We have this amazing resource, which is the F12 Kitchen, which delivers almost 1,000 meals a day to unsheltered people. And it was easier for them if all the parks were centralized, if all the encampments were centralized. But what they did is to say, we're gonna make you fill out this bullshit piece of paper that only allows you to sleep from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. in a fucking park. That is not a permit to do shit. And they have the audacity to limit the parks that people choose to go to. They have the audacity to limit the number of tents, including the supply tents. Not only that, but they have the audacity to go to these people's homes that live at the park and give them notice of trespassing, or because, like, I don't know what the reason that they think it's legal to go into someone's home, because tents are home. They are their homes. They have their possessions in there. They have built communities in there. These are not just random, faceless people. As much as we like to ignore the issue, we still need your help to help us.
We need you to mobilize. You need to tell your rich friends, tell whoever to sign up for meals, to drop off supplies. Now, the project that they're creating, they're gonna have those lists of supplies, and you need to check those lists. You need to make sure you're getting contact with your local encampment, whichever encampment you have closer. If you don't know, fuck, ask me, I'll tell you. I'll tell you. Or walk over to a park. You see a tent? Go say hi. Hey, what do you need? That's all you need to do. Second thing you need to do is put pressure on city council, because just as pretty they fucking sat there and stand in front of a very large white crowd, Powderhorn,
Yep.
to promise to do something, they haven't done shit. You know who takes care of these people? The volunteers. They have never sent out any task force to help with mental health crises or domestic violence, oh, you name it. They haven't even showed up to even ask, like, do you need ice? Oh, because you know what? We need ice every day because it's hot every day. We need water every day because it's fucking a necessity. So, I'm gonna wrap it up, because,
Well, Jim, real quick, just stick with us for a second. I want to know, Michelle, is there anything that we could implement in the charter to address affordable housing, address unhoused folks? And then what I'll ask afterwards for you, Jim, is what would you like to see in the charter as well? Michelle, inform us.
Oh, absolutely. The charter is ours to amend, okay? It's ours to amend. Things like little operational details, like how many cops you have and crap, don't belong in the charter. So that should come out immediately. But things like saying that we are going to mandate that there is enough affordable housing that every single person that needs housing in this damn city gets it, that could happen. That could happen. We could put lots of things together. There's plenty of things that could be done in the charter. You know, I want to speak to one thing that you talked about, Jim, if it's okay. One of the reasons that the park board is working hand in glove with the rest of the city administration to destabilize the lives of homeless people that are dealing with unsheltered homelessness, the reason they're doing it is because they're trying to drive people back to their 501c3 agencies that do all this crap, right? And let me tell you about those agencies. I call them the fucking poverty pimps.
Say that!
They're the poverty pimps. And what I mean by that is this. Heading Home Hennepin was one of these county programs. It was like the 10-year plan to end homelessness. They spent $6 million a year. And at the end of 10 years, there were more homeless people, not less. And they didn't put a goddamn person in a house. You know how many people you could put in a house for $6 million a year? How many people you could house at that money? And instead it paid for people's freaking salaries. You know, Kathy Tenbrook and all these other goddamn poverty pimps. I'm just gonna say their names out loud, okay? Because that is what happens. You know? And that is unacceptable. And then they put, you know, we get this thing from Rondo, the police chief, saying, oh, no, Minneapolis police are involved in any of these things. Bullshit. We have all kind of pictures of Minneapolis police spraying people with pepper spray, doing all kind of other things, being there, putting up the eviction notices. I was very active doing cop watch during the Wall of Forgotten Natives. Y'all remember that? A couple years back? And you know, literally these poverty pimps are saying, they're not putting up eviction notices, and I'm putting up on Facebook pictures of fucking eviction notices. You lying assholes. This is what these people do, okay? This is what they do. They will sit there and gaslight the community. And it's because they're trying to drive everybody back instead of letting people be self-reliant and create their own communities and see to their own needs, and the rest of the community stand with them for their needs. What they want is to have a job, and that's just exactly what DJ said. Yeah, DJ, I don't know your pronouns, I'm sorry. Him. Okay, he had it exactly right. That's exactly what they're trying to do. It's all about preservation of these agencies to the expense of the people who actually need help. So I really want to say that. And thank you, by the way, Jim, for all your amazing work. Thank you.
Well, it's not me. It's literally a group of people that are working every day at all times.
would you want to see changed in the charter to address housing?
On the charter, I would like to see to allocate at least some of that overbloated budget that the MPD has back into the community to strengthen all those social programs and that actually prevent crime rather than react to it. Because they keep blaming these encampments for crime, for violence, and you know, guess what? That's their problem. They created that problem. The encampments didn't make anything new happen. What they are creating is that it's even more need for these programs. So what I would like is to have whatever, I don't know what percentage it is, but I imagine any would do a far more good than having dudes that believe they're heroes with overpriced tanks driving down the street. That's just my humble opinion.
You know what the city could do? In our charter, we could mandate that there be a certain percentage of housing that is affordable for people below the poverty level. That is how you frame it up, okay? And we could make that be like 40%, 50%, whatever the hell percent we need. We can look at the number of people living below the poverty level and we can match it to the amount of low-income housing. That, and we could mandate it and say you can't build another goddamn unit in this town until 50% of what you build is priced for low-income people at below the poverty level. Yes. And this is how you frame that stuff up. It can absolutely happen. It's absolutely something we could do. But I don't see the city council putting anything like that forward. Let me know when they do. Wake me up.
All right, Cora, did you want to say something real quick? We have like a few minutes before we got to get back before sundown.
Yeah. Hey guys.
Tell them what you do.
Yep, so just want to go off of a lot of what Jim said. Me and Jim and Kyle and Lauren, we're out there in the streets, in the encampments every single day, 7 days a week, 12, 16, 20 hours a day. And it's fucking heartbreaking to see these people, hundreds of people I see every day, we see every day, and every day they ask, can you help me get into housing? Can you help me get into treatment? Can you help me get on meds? Can you help me with all this stuff? And I can't. I don't have the capacity to help hundreds of people do these things that are supposed to be taken care of by our government. And you know what Minneapolis and Hennepin County's response to the Greenway encampment was? To put up fucking signs with phone numbers you can call for housing for people that don't have phones. So that's doing a lot of good. Yeah, and it just breaks my heart to see my fellow people out here struggling and ignored, and I just implore all of you to please get out there, talk to the people in these encampments, on the Greenway, whatever. They're chill. They just want to be recognized as having value like the rest of us. And yeah, just tell your city council members that they need to take some of this fucking police money and spend it on the people. You know, we don't need to be funding the cops to move the people out of the encampments. We need to move them into housing. And stop the evictions. Every day, it's a new camp that's being evicted. We're running out of places to tell people they can go. Right now, there's an eviction going on in Loring Park. They evicted Fair Oaks earlier today. 2 tents were there. What is 2 tents hurting? Seriously. And we can't even keep up with it, and I think that's their plan. They want us running all over, trying to figure out where we can send these folks and get them transported, get them new tents when they bulldoze their stuff. I mean, you can't imagine what it's like to look at, you know, these cops standing around with their fucking hands on their hips while they're literally bulldozing people's, what little possessions they have. And we can't even find tents. We're driving an hour outside the city to buy tents because we can't find any more because they're not stocking them in the city. I wonder what's up with that. But yeah, that's about it. It's just, we need to make sure that this stays in the light, you know. They want to shove people off to the side and make us forget what's really going on. But this is a serious problem, And it's not going away anytime soon, so we need to stay on top of it and make sure that our voices are heard for everyone. Right?
So, and this is why we do this, and we need to keep coming here. And for certain neighborhoods, this is around where I live, and I'm gonna keep making sure that we have these rallies, that we have these meetings, that we have these discussions, and that we have this dialogue, because this needs to continue. And for some of the people that live in this neighborhood, you have actual affordable housing. You have some people that are on the margin here, and I'm not speaking to y'all. What I'm speaking to are the young, white renters that order everything on Amazon that voted for Lisa Bender. I'm speaking to all of you right now that showed up to a George Floyd rally or two. I'm speaking to you that put up a black square on Instagram and then didn't do shit after it. I'm speaking to you who thought that it was okay to show up for a little bit to George Floyd Square and then go back to your home that Lisa calls affordable, naturally occurring affordable housing, and it's $900 plus a month. I'm speaking to you. You have to understand that you're not doing enough. You have to understand that Lisa has never done enough. Lisa has never done her job, and she's placated to you because for white folks it's easy to vouch for pedestrian-only zones when you don't walk the streets like black people do, like unhoused folks do, like brown folks do. It's easy to vouch for a bike lane when you have enough money to buy a bike. It's easy to shame cars and spit at them, but never do that to a cop because you're not about that life and you're not about that business. So if you're white and you haven't shown up for Black lives, or maybe you did for a little bit, you need to take a long look in the mirror and ask yourself, is the work I'm doing making any change? Or am I only doing the work because I want to tell my white friends I'm an activist for city infrastructure? If you're not out here like Gabe and Tanya Black Elk, if you're not out here like Michelle Gross, if you're not out here like Nikema, if you're not out here like the Marshalls, if you're not out here like the medics, then you need to shut the fuck up and listen. You need to show up to George Floyd Square every day for those community meetings in Phelps Park and listen. You need to make this work your life because you're only showing up when it's convenient. And Lisa is supplying you the drug for your convenience. She wants to make you feel good for doing a little bit. She wants to make you feel good for doing just a capitalist, like just a minimalist. She wants to make you feel good for standing in park and singing Kumbaya with her while they said they were going to defund the police. And then they didn't do shit. Alondra Cano, the city council member, literally said the words, unicorns, rainbows, and we're going to take intermediate steps to solve this. We don't have time for intermediate steps. We don't have time for Lisa Bender's re-election. She's got to go. But we're going to keep coming back here to hold her accountable. We're going to keep coming back here to hold her accountable. Now we're going to make our final march back to the park, eat some food. I want everybody to actually speak to Core